The World Economic Forum, or WEF, has long operated in the shadows, shaping the course of nations and economies behind closed doors. It claims to be a platform for global collaboration, promoting economic growth, sustainability, and technological advancements. But as we delve deeper, we discover a far more intricate agenda that has left the masses disillusioned and infuriated. In recent years, a wave of awareness has swept across the globe, awakening ordinary individuals to the WEF's true intentions. People have grown wary of the elite's control, their self-serving policies, and their disregard for the well-being of the common person. This mounting awareness has fueled a growing anger, leading us to a critical juncture. We now find ourselves at a breaking point, a moment where the once all-powerful WEF is facing unprecedented opposition. The public, no longer content to be mere pawns in a grand game, has risen to challenge the influence of the global elite. But it's not just a battle of ideologies, it's a battle for survival. The financial support that has propped up the WEF and central banks is rapidly drying up, leaving these institutions teetering on the edge of collapse. The wealthy backers who once thrived in the shadows are retreating, their faith in the system shaken, and their support dwindling. In this video, we will uncover the secrets behind the collapse of the World Economic Forum and the chaos it has sparked among the global elite. Let's dive in. Central banks have long been regarded as the backbone of our financial system, the ones responsible for maintaining stability and keeping things in check. We've often relied on them to be the saviors in times of trouble, believing that they have the magic touch to rescue our economies from the brink of disaster. Now let's zoom in on the 2008 crisis, a pivotal moment in recent history. It all started with a housing bubble that grew to massive proportions. People were buying homes like there was no tomorrow, fueled by easy access to credit and the disbelief that housing prices would keep soaring. But alas, bubbles burst and this one did too. The housing market crumbled, leading to a devastating ripple effect across the entire financial landscape. Amidst the chaos, central banks pulled out their trump card: quantitative easing, or simply put, money printing. They flooded the markets with an unprecedented amount of cash, hoping it would jumpstart lending, revive the economy, and prevent a total collapse. It was an unconventional move, to say the least, but desperate times call for desperate measures. However, the results were not as rosy as anticipated. While the injection of cash did prevent a complete meltdown, the promised economic recovery fell short for many. The benefits seemed to be disproportionately enjoyed by the wealthy, with asset prices soaring, while everyday people struggled to feel the positive impact. Moreover, inflation remained surprisingly low, defying the expectations of many experts. So we were left with a mixed bag of outcomes. Central banks managed to avert a complete catastrophe, but the long-term effects were not as successful in fostering widespread economic well-being. This led to critical questions about the effectiveness and fairness of the measures taken and whether they truly address the underlying issues of inequality and sustainable growth. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, it sent shockwaves through the global economy, leading to an unprecedented shutdown. Businesses closed their doors, people lost jobs, and there was a real fear of a complete economic collapse. To avert this catastrophe, central banks around the world took decisive action. They fired up their printing presses and started churning out trillions of dollars. The goal was to inject liquidity into the financial system and prevent a full-blown crisis. It was a bold move aiming to stabilize markets, support struggling businesses, and keep the economy afloat in the face of immense uncertainty. However, as the money printers went into overdrive, concerns began to mount. Independent investors and economists started warning about the potential consequences of such massive money creation. One of the primary concerns was inflation. The flood of newly printed money raised in fears of raising prices and the devaluation of currencies, which could ultimately erode people's purchasing power and hit them hard in their wallets. Initially, the Federal Reserve and other central banks downplayed these concerns. They assured the public that any increase in prices would be temporary and described it as transitory. But as time passed, it became increasingly clear that inflation was not a passing phase. Prices continued to rise, making it harder for individuals and families to make ends meet and leaving them feeling the pinch. If you want to stay updated and access unbiased information about the collapse of the World Economic Forum, which has sparked global elite chaos, I highly recommend subscribing to our channel. Our goal is to offer you comprehensive coverage, in-depth analysis, and valuable insights into the ever-changing world of sustainable investing. By subscribing, you'll become part of a community that truly values transparency and aims to provide accurate and reliable information. Despite the mounting evidence, central banks were slow to accept responsibility for the inflationary pressures. They eventually had to admit the reality of the situation, but were reluctant to shoulder the blame. Instead, they pointed fingers at external factors like supply chain disruptions, absolving themselves of direct responsibility for the consequences of their actions. This evasive stance left many frustrated as they felt that central banks were not fully transparent or accountable for the consequences of their actions. The loss of trust in central banks and mainstream media is a growing concern among many individuals today. One significant factor contributing to this mistrust is the perception that central banks prioritize the interests of the wealthy elite over the well-being of the average person. People are increasingly questioning the actions of central banks, suspecting that their policies and interventions are geared towards maintaining high asset prices and protecting the wealth of the rich, rather than fostering economic stability and prosperity for all. In a similar vein, media organizations have faced criticism for their reluctance to provide an accurate and transparent portrayal of the economy. Many individuals believe that mainstream media outlets have become complacent in their reporting, often refraining from revealing the whole truth about the state of the economy. The close relationships between media organizations and influential figures or corporations raise concerns about bias and conflicts of interest, leading people to question the objectivity and integrity of the information being presented. The World Economic Forum has played a historically significant role in shaping global economic discussions and fostering collaboration among leaders from different sectors. Since its establishment in 1971, the WEF has aimed to facilitate dialogue between business leaders, politicians, and intellectuals to address pressing economic challenges. Over the years, it has become synonymous with the annual Davos Conference, where influential figures gather to discuss the shape global agendas. However, the WEF has experienced a decline in its influence and popularity in recent times. One reason for this decline is the increasing public awareness and opposition to the organization with the rise of the internet and social media. The information about the WEF and its initiatives has become more accessible, enabling people to question its motives and express concerns about its impact on society. Another indication of the WEF's decline is the avoidance of the Davos Conference by political leaders. Examples include US President Joe Biden and UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who have chosen not to attend the conference. This avoidance signifies a shift in the perception of the WEF's relevance and popularity among political elites. It reflects a growing sentiment that the WEF may not adequately address the concerns and priorities of their respective nations. In addition, there are individuals who actively oppose the WEF's agenda. Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is a notable example. DeSantis has emerged as a vocal critic of the WEF, expressing concerns about its potential impact on individual freedoms and national sovereignty. His active opposition represents a broader sentiment among some political circles that view the WEF as a threat to democratic principles and local governance. At the center of the WEF's decline is its founder, Klaus Schwab. While Schwab initially envisioned a quest for global control and influence through the WEF, he has faced widespread dislike and criticism. Many individuals perceive his ideas and proposed policies as favoring the global elite at the expense of the ordinary citizens. Schwab's failure to achieve the level of global control he aspired to have has contributed to the erosion of the WEF's credibility and influence. Discussing the decline of the WEF presents challenges due to limitations and self-censorship in media coverage. Some media houses and platforms, including certain Google-owned platforms like YouTube, have shown reluctance in openly addressing the role and influence of the WEF. This cautious approach may stem from close relationships between media organizations, powerful figures, and corporations, which can restrict the free exchange of ideas and diverse perspectives. If you enjoyed the video, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and watch this one as well.